Spoken words consisting of humble letters make it possible for my thoughts and ideas to travel from myself to yours. That might seem ordinary, but in fact, it's what constantly changes our world. If it weren't for the art of articulation, humanity would be unchanging. Insights of extraordinary individuals wouldn't be shared. The truth would not be uncovered, and discoveries that have long revolutionized our world would still be stuck in their discoverers' minds. You see, words are our universal power because they bridge everything to human relevance. Anything that has been introduced to our world began with words. Even if not spoken, then signed, or even if not signed, then written. And if you still have hesitation about that, then I invite you to listen till the end. Words have played a role in every aspect of our lives, including science. Our studies of science can persist from centuries to today because of our habit of weaving words into meaning. Let's take Albert Einstein, for instance. If he hadn't articulated his discoveries as precisely and simply as he did, later scientists might not have been able to further explore his discoveries. Speaking of that, the latest announcement of the 2025 Nobel Prize in Physics reflects this. Because in a broad sense, words enabled early scientists' discoveries to descend to the winners of the prize as a foundation for their new findings. Now, going back to Einstein, words have even influenced the trajectory of his career. After graduating, he went to one of his professors and requested a recommendation letter, unexpecting that he'd write him a discouraging one, which caused him major setbacks in his early career, getting him rejected for every academic appointment he had applied for. Instead, he had to settle for a less prestigious job, which actually enabled him more time to ponder his thoughts about the universe, to eventually develop the theory of special relativity, one of his breakthroughs which proposes that space and time are not separate but merged into one continuum. Fast forward many years later, he came up with the theory of general relativity, which describes gravity as the curvature of spacetime. Much like when you place a heavy sphere on a trampoline surface, it causes a curvature in the fabric so that if you place a smaller sphere, it would move around following the path created, reaching the centered object. That was Einstein's interpretation of gravity. Although he received a terrible letter, the negative words it contained somehow redirected his path, giving him the opportunity to weave his thoughts into these revolutionary theories. Ironically, his professor's negative letter might have even done him better than a positive one would have. Now, if all of that science talk doesn't interest you, now listen to what might. Artificial intelligence is meaningful because it communicates with us in human language. What do you think enables all the conversational AI tools that we frequently use to perform the way they do? The answer is the language they're fed that makes them able to understand and generate language relative to ours. Yet, with all of that being said, artificial intelligence can never mimic our ability to feel. It lacks the human emotion that drives us to use words the ways we do. It can never describe us better than we do ourselves because simply it is not human. Something that we can all agree on is that words also redefine how we perceive others. I'm sure we can each note instances when we've had particular expectations of people that were eventually either disproven or proven true once they spoke. We also experience this when reading, be it a book, a poem, or a play. Words authors use reveal who they are. They make them less distant in our view. Shakespeare, although none of us has met, whose literature is widespread because of its depth and contribution to the English language, has developed stories of characters that were once just in his fantasy and are now taught in almost every literature course. Stories that are passed from one generation to the next, and folk songs that glue you to your culture are also carried in a bunch of arranged letters. When I was younger, something that was very eye-opening to me is how the UAE has chosen to refer to the people of special needs by the people of determination, ashab and himam. This is such a great example of how creative wording can foster inclusivity and uplift an entire people. But what if I told you that words first affected you back when you were still in your mother's womb? Her loving words meant for you penetrated through her stomach, reaching you when you were just the size of a fist. Then you grew and came into this world and became proud with your name that is now part of your identity. And then you were taught to love your homeland, that's name you hold with pride. And eventually you learned the alphabet that little did you know would later become your tool for self-expression. And once you leave this world, people will start exchanging words about who you were in your memory. Essentially, words have spanned your life. And that is why, before we utter anything, we should understand that how and what we speak have the potential to revolutionize, encourage, and inspire, just like many individuals have proven time and time again. Remember this: even if your crowd consists of one person, just one individual, that one person still hears you and they still count. I think we can say by now that words truly hold our legacy as humans. And as a correction to what I've said earlier, humble letters might not be as humble as they seem after all, especially because they are the very gift that makes us human in every sense of the word.